Hey everybody, we are coming in and checking on the Gourami tank, and we're going to do this in real time. It's Friday evening and the tank has been blacked out since Monday evening, and I've not looked in the tank other than kind of squinting into the darkness there ever since. So let's go ahead and get the LED here turned off. Let's get this other overhead light turned off, and now I am going to try to reach under here. Bear with me. Alright. So, let's see what we got. I don't see anybody floating. There is my little female honey gourami back in the corner. The angelfish is very clearly still there. I saw some loaches dash. Ah, there we go. I was looking for my little chocolate gourami. My chocolate gourami's looking okay. Shockingly, that little neon is still in there. My striped Raphael still looks okay. And judging by the look of a lot of the growth on the glass, a lot of that looks like it's been killed off, and getting in there with maybe a scrub brush will probably get rid of a lot more of this. I'm not sure whether I should just go ahead and pull that Java fern out of there or leave it alone. It's still got some growth on it, but I don't know if that growth has been killed off or if it's still alive. Now remember, when I blacked out the tank, you could see when I walked in, it wasn't blacked out. I didn't have a blanket over it or anything like that. So some small amount of light has been getting in the tank. So, you know, I don't know if that was enough for the photosynthesis to occur or what, but that's what we're starting with. So I think from here, what we're going to do is do another water change. I'll get in there tonight. I think we'll go ahead and get the filter cleaned out. That's not really anything worth getting on video unless I get in there and find something unusual going on inside the filter or whatever, but I'm not expecting that. So I'll probably get in there and do a filter change. I'll get my, I got a bottle brush in the other room. It's got a long wire handle on it, and I can get in there and scrub up, you know, get that rest of that little bit of gunk off the glass, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The main thing I wanted to do was just get on video right as the lights came on, so if I was going to find anything, you know, disastrous happening in there, we would get it all in real time. So like I said, let me get started. I'm going to get some more work done here, and then I guess on this case, instead of doing a, you know, watching me work video like we did last time, this one's not really that much involved in it. So this is going to be basically just a water change. So we'll just do this a simple before and after, even though the after is not going to have a whole lot to look at either, because I'm not really going to do a whole lot other than get in there and scrub it out, a water change. I don't know. We'll see. We're just going to go ahead and call this the before. All right, and there's our after. So I did a little more work than I originally planned while I was in there, but I figured while I was in there and while it was all open and I didn't have a bunch of plants in my way and I was draining the water out of it, I may as well make some changes while I'm in there. So the first thing I did was I caught and I removed my clown loach. So the big clown loach that was in this tank is now in my 125 with the other two large clown loaches I have, and so they're all much happier, I'm sure. So the next thing I did, other than just scrubbing the glass down and all that kind of stuff that I said I was going to do, was I got in there and I rearranged the rocks where my striped Raphael normally hides, and I opened both of those up so it's much more wide open. And you may notice that I added this rock here. This little sort of monolithic rock sticking up was already in there. Even though it was kind of tucked away underneath of the plant there, you never noticed it. So this rock is now supporting the base of this rock that used to be down into the sand, and so it was a real thin gap between there. And so by bringing this end up, I've now sort of opened this whole area up. So again, all I really did was sort of move this one out and then move that one out. I sort of just splayed the whole thing open, and so I didn't really fundamentally change the tank. I just sort of spread it out a little bit. Now, while I was doing it, I will say when the striped Raphael was, you know, swimming around and trying to get out of the way and everything, he was banging into the glass, and it did really kind of come across as an awful lot of fish for this 55-gallon tank. So that was a little bit of an eye-opener seeing that. The clown loach didn't have a chance. to dart or dash or anything the way I wound up catching that. It was surprisingly easy, so we don't really get a good idea of whether or not the clown loach was outgrowing it, but it's not in here anymore anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's in a 125 and it's fine. So next I started adding some plants, and the first thing I did was, instead of putting Java fern back on this piece of wood here, I put some Anubias on it. So hopefully we'll get to enjoy what the wood looks like for a little while before it gets all overgrown like it was before. And then instead of putting the regular Java fern in there, I've got so much of this Java Windelov. And remember, I've got this stuff for sale, so you can hit my email up down below. I'll put it in the description if you want any Java Windelov, Java fern, or floating water sprite, or I should just say water sprite. You can plant it or float it or whatever, which is this, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I put the Java fern up top, and then I put the Anubias up top, and then the Java Windelov here and here, and hopefully it will sort of attach and kind of anchor these rocks together, and this will sort of attach and grow, and we'll get some nice bushy green growth in there, but we won't get this huge mass right there in the center like we had before, and we'll get to enjoy the way that wood looks a little more. And yes, that actually is a tunnel completely through there, so the smaller fish can swim right through there. So the striped Raphael's got a little more room, even though he's not quite sure where he wants to go yet. He hasn't quite figured out that the tank has been changed around to his advantage, but we will see. So the next thing I did was I went upstairs into the tank I keep in my wife's room. I keep for her to enjoy. And I put some neon swordtails in there not too long ago. And they've been making a lot of additional neon swordtails in there. There is an angelfish in that tank, and it does do a pretty good job of population control. But it's also heavily planted, and a lot of them hide in the little roots and everything, the little nooks and crannies, and survive to adulthood. So what I wound up with was a bunch of juvenile and young neon swordtails in that tank. So I went upstairs and I snatched 5 of them out of there. I clearly got one male. I don't know if that's the male. I don't know if that's the father of all the ones that are in the tank or not. I don't think it is. So I think there are other males in there. And then you can see down here there's one that I'm pretty sure is female. Both of these seem to be female. And there should have been 5 of them. It might have only been 4. I'm not sure. I was running back and forth and everything else. And then I also found some of this. This is another type of Java fern, and I'm not sure what it's called. I've got it growing in my 125 over here. Speaking of which, we can have a look at that real quick. There's one of the loaches. Now, I have no idea which loach is which anymore. There's another one. I'm going to say probably the smallest one is the one that just came out of the Gourami Tank. So I'm going to say probably this one here with the pale markings and everything. That's probably the stress from transferring tanks and everything else is giving it those pale colors. So this fern right here, I know it's kind of covered with algae and stuff right now. It's kind of hard to identify, but that's what that little fern is that we just planted in the corner there. Right there. So that is all I did. I didn't do anything with the filter or the lights or anything like that. And I did throw 3 big root masses of water sprite in there. And I know that's going to be way overkill, but they're real sort of spindly. I pulled all of the browning and the dead and the yellowing fronds off, and it really reduced it to just almost like the root masses along with a few fronds that are still on there. So that will grow back in very quickly. It'll start swinging downwards, so the roots start hanging down rather than floating sideways, and this tank will start looking a little more natural. Right now it looks like I just slapped it together, which is exactly what I did. But as time goes on and it starts growing in and the plants start growing towards the light and the roots start hanging downwards and, you know, everything starts attaching to everything, it will start looking a lot more natural. So next will be probably adding some more fish. I'm just not sure exactly what I want to add. I'm probably going to add some more chocolate gouramis at some point, but I've run into some real financial issues recently, so I don't know about buying a bunch of expensive fish. It's probably not on my priority list right now. I've got more important things to worry about with my money. So we will see what happens. I might wind up adding some more PetSmart fish, like some rubber lip plecos, just to help keep the tank clean. I did try putting some Siamese algae eaters in here at one point. Not Chinese, but the true Siamese algae eaters like I have in my T-bar tank, because they do a fantastic job, but they vanished fairly quickly. And if I had to guess, I would say I know why they vanished and where they went. So probably not going to spend the money. They were not inexpensive either, and I hate spending all that money on really expensive fish food. I know it's good high quality fish food, but I don't need to spend that kind of money to feed my striped Raphael. He already eats all the neons that are in here, except for, surprisingly, the one neon that just survives and survives and survives. I know it's over in that corner. There it is. Came down this morning and I looked in there, and again the tank was dark and I left it completely dark. And one of the reasons neons always get eaten is that at night they sleep on the bottom. Guppies will tend to go up in the top, and they'll sleep up in the roots, and they'll sleep up near the surface. My gouramis will sort of tuck themselves away, behind the plumbing there, and find themselves a nice little nook. The neons go down to the bottom and they sleep just above the substrate. And so at night, if you've got any kind of nocturnal predators in the tank, it just goes around and hoovers them up. And yet somehow this one neon has survived. And again, when I came down this morning and turned the lights on, I just had to scratch my head, because I looked in the corner and I could see right sitting on the rock, basically sitting on the bottom of the tank, was that neon. And how it does not get eaten by that Raphael, I have no idea. I thought perhaps that it was an oddball neon that liked sleeping up in the bushes or something, but it apparently does not. It sleeps right on the bottom, and it has still somehow survived. So that's about it. New look of my Gourami tank, and of course it will still continue to fill in as we go along, and I don't doubt for a moment that in another week or two I'm going to be griping that we've got that blackbeard algae starting to grow back. So I do not by any means think we are done. I just think we've made a really good start on eradicating it. Now I'm going to have to keep the nutrient levels low, I'm going to have to keep the feeding to a minimum, and I'm going to have to reduce how much sort of algae-based food I put in there, and kind of force the algae-eating fish to find their own. And by doing that, they'll help keep on top of the maintenance of the tank for me and keep it clean. So there you go, everybody. There's my Gourami tank. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you're subscribed, because you never know what you're going to get with me. Don't forget, this one is my Gourami tank, and I will see you real soon on the next one.